Hi, welcome. This video is a summary of a book entitled The 10-Minute Trainer, 150 Ways to Teach It Quick and Make It Stick by Sharon L. Bowman. The 10-Minute Trainer. What is this all about? The 10-Minute Trainer features a variety of exercises ranging from 1 to 10 minutes in length and provides content-specific exercises as well as activities for transitioning between topics and gauging understanding. The topics for this video consist of 3 parts, where in part 1, it has 3 subtopics, namely, when they do it, they get it, 150 activities to make the learning stick. Second, got a minute, 60-second activities to help learners repeat, review, and remember. And the third is about Take 5, 5 and 10-minute games that help learners wrap it up, reinforce, apply, and practice. Part 2 has 4 subtopics, namely, Heads Up, Brain-Based Learning and Training Attention Maker, Attention Breaker, the Reticular. Second, Activating System and Learning, 3 Brains in 1, the Truant Brain and Learning. Third, Let the Compass Be Your Guide, the Learning Compass and Learning the Natural Way. And the fourth is about the Mapping Your Message, making it stick with the Training Map Powerhouse training templates, time-saving design, and delivery tools. In Part 3, it has also 4 subtopics, namely, More Timely Training Tools, Get a Clue, 4 Elements to Increase Motivation and Memory in Learning. Second, You Said It, but Did They Get It? How to Check for Understanding. Third, What's a Picture Worth? The Importance of Imagery in Learning. And the fourth is about the station rotation, learning a lot in a little time. Here is a foreword of what the trainer says about the 10-minute trainer. In this bright and zesty book, Sharon Bowman reminds us again of the basic fact of all learning. It is the only what the learner creates that is learned. Boy, do we ever need to hear this repeatedly? We in the training field often get hung up by the belief that it is the instructor's presentation that determines the quality of learning. And so, we continue to rely on things such as the interminable PowerPoint, lecture as the centerpiece of our training programs. But PowerPoint overuse is nothing more than electronic chloroform. It knocks people out. Instead, our job as training professionals is to wake people up. Yes, wake people up to their full potential for learning, for job success, and for a life that embraces the full mind, body, and spirit. The 10-minute trainer will certainly wake people up. It contains a gold mine of easy-to-use ideas for getting learners to talk, to think, to move, to create, to act, and thus to learn. And it contains a rapid design method for weaving these ideas together into effective learning programs. Use this book as a resource, refer to it often, and consult it when you are stuck. It will reawaken you to what good learning really is. A supreme act of creation on the part of the learner, the 10-minute trainer is bound to make your job easier and more fun, and make you so much more effective as a designer and facilitator of learning. Count on it. A bird's eye view of 150 activities. Here's what we find in Part 1. First, an introduction to the Got a Minute activities. This will explain the rationale for these 60-second activities, what you can accomplish by using them, and some tips to keep in mind as you experiment with them. Second, Got a Minute activities to help learners review, repeat, and remember important information. Third, an introduction to the Take 5 games. This will explain why these 5 and 10-minute activities are important, what you can accomplish by using them, and some tips to keep in mind. Fourth, 10 Take 5 games to help learners wrap up the learning, reinforce, apply, and practice. Here is a more detailed list of the 60-second activities and how you might use them in this training. First is the connections. These are opening activities that connect learners to each other, to what they already know about the training topic, and to what they want to learn. Second is the time sponges. Use this to soak up time at the opening, during a break, or when participants finish an activity or game early. Use them also as connection activities to connect learners to each other and to the training topic or concepts. Next is pair shares. Use this as quick review exercises throughout the training. Next is the shoutouts. Use this as opening activities to find out what learners already know about the topic and use them also as quick review exercises. Next is about the think and write. These are introspective review activities you can use throughout the training. Next is signals. Use this to check for understanding or ask a yes or no answer to verbal questions. Doodles. These are visual, right-brain ways of representing important facts or concepts. Pop-ups. These are kinesthetic review exercises, that is, they include movement in the review process. Next is the markups. With this, participants interact with written material by marking the text in various ways. Ticket outs. Use this as closing activities to help participants think about and evaluate what they learned. Action plans. These are closing activities that encourage participants to make a commitment to use what they learned. And then the last is what we call the celebrations. These are closing activities that celebrate the learning with a high energy, enthusiastic end of the training. And here is a more detailed list of the 5 and 10-minute games, along with how you might use them in the training. First is the postcard partners. Use this as an opening activity to connect learners to each other and to the training topic or concepts. Second, the gallery walk. This can be an opening activity, a review activity, or a closing exercise, or use it as an ongoing activity throughout the training or during training breaks. Take a stand. This is either an opening activity or a review activity when you want participants to discuss topic-related issues. Next is what we call the grab that spoon. As a closing exercise, this is a competitive game for a general review, or include each game around, that is, one question and answer at various times throughout the training to review specific concepts. Next is place your order. Use this to review procedural concepts during the training, that is, information that needs to be learned in a certain order. Metaphor magic. This is a creative, right-brain way of reviewing concepts which makes learners think about what they have learned in unique and unusual ways. It can also be a creative closing activity. Next is about the let's trade. Use this as a closing activity in which participants make a commitment to use what they have learned. Next is about the each one, teach one. Use this as a kinesthetic exercise to help learners practice skills or review information in an active and hands-on way. The walkabout. This is a closing kinesthetic activity that is also high energy and celebratory. And then the last one is what we call the blackout bingo. Use this as another high energy closing activity. It is also a kinesthetic review exercise. In order to use these 150 activities in ways that will make them work best for your learners, you will need to chunk your material. That is, divide your information into shorter lecture segments. If you've never done this before, then the easiest way to begin is to cut your material in half. You will deliver both halves, but you will also include a 60-second activity in between each half. For example, if you are used to lecturing for an hour, lecture for 30 minutes instead. Then stop talking and lead the participants in a 60-second review activity. After that, continue with the next 30 minutes of lecture. You can also include a 60-second activity at the beginning of the first 30 minutes and at the end of the last 30 minutes. If your normal lecture time is about half hour, take 2 30-minute lecture pieces and divide that material into 4 15-minute segments. Include 60-second activities at the beginning, the end, and in between each of the 4 segments for a total of 5 short, quick activities in an hour. Your goal in chunking your material is to get close to the 10-minute mark, not only because of the television-affected, shortened attention spans of your participants, but also because the human brain learns better that way. You will see this in part 2 for the brain research that supports the 10-minute lecture. Remember that the 10 minutes of information delivery is the goal, not the rule. You decide what's appropriate for you, for the material you're teaching, and for the learners who attend your training. Sometimes your lectures will take a little longer, sometimes they will be a little shorter. Here is the reason why it is set in 60 seconds. Even though you have a large amount of material to cover in a short amount of time, you'll find it very easy to sprinkle 1-minute activities throughout your training. A 60-second activity is doable when a 60-minute activity is not. A 60-second activity is short enough to hold your learner's attention, yet long enough to provide a quick review of a segment of information, and including 1-minute activities keeps your training participants attentive, interested, involved, and learning. Here's what 60 seconds can do. Repeat what they just heard, which will help them remember it longer. Review material in a number of creative ways. Think about what they just learned. Keep their mind alert and attentive. Re-energize their bodies. Become active participants in their own learning. Link what they just learned to what they already know. Next is feel that what they already know is worthwhile. Increase short-term memory. 60 seconds can also move some of the information into long-term memory. Another is to build a safe learning community where they can talk, ask questions, laugh, and make mistakes. Next, have fun while they learn. Buy into what is being taught. Lessen any resistance to the learning experience that they may have. And then the last is to seek out additional learning experiences that make them feel as good as this one. Connections. A connection is an opening activity that helps learners focus on what they know or what to know while also introducing themselves to the other learners. They do this by taking to the other learners. A connection differs from an icebreaker in that the latter is usually social and not topic related, whereas the former always connects learners to the topic as well as to each other. When you use a connection as an opening activity, your learners do 3 important things. First, they connect to their own learning goals, that is what they hope to get out of the training. Second, they connect to what they already know about the training topic so that they can link new learning to old. And third is to connect to the other learners and of course, to you, in order to form a learning community for the duration of the training. What does a connection do? Here are the following reasons. First, it forms a safe learning community with the other learners in the room. Second, remind themselves of their own personal learning goals. Third, become aware of what they already know about the training topic. Fourth, focus their energy on learning from the moment they enter the room. Fifth, feel a sense of belonging as well as safety. Sixth, relax into the learning experience. Seventh, feel a shift of energy in the room from a quiet, passive feeling that the most people have when sitting with a group of strangers to a higher energy, more open feeling experienced when sitting with the new friends. Eighth is about to recognize that they are respected and honored by you and the other learners. And then the last is to get a sense of positive expectation about the learning experience to come. What is time sponges? A time sponge is a short, topic-related activity that soaks up time that would normally be spent on non-training things. Examples of this non-training time include a few minutes before their opening, moments immediately after a coffee or lunch break, and whenever participants finish an activity early and have nothing else to do. What does a time sponge do? Here are the 3 reasons. First, quick start sponges. These activities soak up 2 or 3 minutes before the official opening, or use one as an official opening activity to get people connected to each other and to the training topic. Second, take a break sponges. These exercises soak up a few minutes of break time for learners who want to continue working with the material or have nothing else to do. They also soak up the first minute or 2 after participants return from a coffee, bathroom, or lunch break. And then the last reason is about early to finish sponges. These activities fill time when learners have completed a game or project and are waiting for others to finish. Pair shares, also called a dyad dialogue or a neighbor nudge. This activity is the quickest, easiest, and psychologically the safest way to invite learners to participate. During a pair share, each learner turns to another person and engages in a short discussion about something that is topic related. With a pair share, learners don't have to worry about how they will sound in front of their peers, nor do learners need to be concerned about whether or not they know the right answer. After all, the only person they will be talking will be the person seated next to them. Shoutouts. A shoutout is an activity that encourages learners to state what they already know or have learned by responding to a topic-related question or comment from you. A shoutout makes the whole group responsible for the number of responses needed. It also increases learner involvement as well as the critical thinking skills because learners need to come up with more than one right answer. Participants don't really have to shout. They can use normal voices to respond as per your instructions. The shoutout is one of the most versatile 60-second activities around. Experiment with it to make it work for you and for your learners. As an interactive lecture technique, it's tops. Think and write. During this activity, learners take a moment to think about what they have learned and then write down their thoughts as per your instructions. The think and write is more introspective than other 60-second activities because learners quietly reflect upon what they learned. Corporate training guru Dr. Sivasailam calls this rapid reflection time. Whatever you choose to call it, use it to help learners mentally absorb the training materials. The next is about signals. A signal is a hand or body motion or a choral response used by learners to answer a question or demonstrate their understanding of a concept. One of the most widely used signal trainers tells participants to use is raise your hand if, followed by a topic-related statement. But if signals can be unusual sounds and motions too, they can also be learned-created. Signals involve all learners and add a kinesthetic element to a lecture. Doodles. With 60-second doodles, learners simply create images, icons, lines, shapes, drawings, cartoons, symbols, stick figures, or logos to represent a topic-related fact or concept. A doodle is a right brain activity since humans process images in the right hemisphere of the cerebrum or thinking brain. Pop-ups. A pop-up is a kinesthetic activity that increases physical energy while learning review material. With a pop-up, a few or all of the learners stand up or sit down as per your instructions. Markups. A markup is an activity in which you instruct learners to mark their written material in certain ways so that they will remember the information longer. Tickets out. A ticket out is also called an exit slip, is a written comment or verbal statement from the learners about what they have learned or what parts of information are still confusing to them, a question they may still have, or what they consider to be the most important concept or main idea from the material presented. Action plans. An action plan is a participant's verbal or written commitment to do something with what he learned. It is an activity that encourages learners to think about the learning and to use it in some way after the training is over. Celebrations. A celebration is a closing activity that ends the training on a positive note, often with a burst of energy and enthusiasm. Like a connection activity at the beginning of a training, a celebration connects learners to each other once again at the end of the training. The next topic is what we called Take 5. 5 and 10-minute games that help learners wrap it up, reinforce, apply, and practice. Why Take 5? In the United States, Take 5 is a familiar filmmaking phrase that signifies a short rest or break. Ironically, with the longer commercial time between American televised program segments, the phrase could now refer to a commercial breaks. Postcard partners. A postcard partner is an opening game that connects learners to each other and to the topic in an entertaining way. Each learner chooses a piece of a postcard, then stands and finds his partner or partners. When they find each other, they form standing pairs or triads and put their postcards together. They turn the card over to answer a topic related question or discuss a topic related issue that is written on the back. Gallery walk. The gallery walk is a powerful opening, closing, or review activity. Take a stand. With Take a Stand, learners move around the room and choose a designated place to stand before engaging in small group discussions. Take a Stand also encourages learners to use higher order thinking skills such as analysis, evaluation, and synthesis, as they discuss their own perceptions and opinions of questions, issues, or concepts related to what they are learning. Grab That Spoon. Grab That Spoon is a quick review game with a dash of friendly competition. Learners sit in small groups and take turns asking each other questions for points or tokens. The person who first grabs a plastic spoon gets to answer the question. The competition heats up as learners realize that the fastest person has the most chance of winning. Place Your Order. Place Your Order is a review game in which participants work together to put a series of cards in the correct order. Each card describes a specific step in a topic-related procedure. You can provide the card sets and the answer key cards, and each small group self-corrects by checking its completed card set against the answer key. Metaphor Magic. This activity uses the power of metaphors and analogies to capture the essence of a training concept. Metaphors and analogies are phrases that compare one thing with another thing that is unlike the first. Metaphors are right brain training tools because they create mental images that instantly communicate concepts without the need of long explanations. Let's Trade. In Let's Trade, learners write a comment, question, or piece of information as directed by you or an index card. Then learners walk around the room, trading cards a number of times. At the end of the activity, they do something for the card as per your instructions. For example, they can read the cards aloud, ask or answer the questions aloud, create a short demonstration to teach the cards concept, or discuss the cards that they consider the most important. The Each One, Teach One. This activity gives learners the opportunity to teach and coach each other. Learners pair up and teach each other what they just learned, give each other feedback, practice a skill together, coach each other as they practice, and provide mutual support by encouraging each other. The best way for a learner to reinforce, apply, and practice any new skill is to teach it to someone else. The Walkabout. Based loosely on the idea of an ancient Aboriginal walkabout in the Australian desert, a walkabout is simply a way to give learners the opportunity to walk and talk at the same time. Instead of sitting or standing in one place, participants from walkabout pairs or trades and walk around the room or outside and back in while reviewing the training material. Blackout Bingo. Cards fills in the bingo squares as directed by you and then collect signatures from other participants by defining or by giving examples of his bingo card items. The point is to be one of the first to get a signature for every bingo item. Blackout Bingo combines a conceptual review with physical exercise, friendly competition, and a high-energy way to celebrate the learning. All in all, it's a great way to a close training session.
And now we are in the part 2. This part is all about learning. How we learn, what keeps us learning, what keeps when we don't learn, and how to use this information to help our training participants learn. So, in this part, the topics are heads up, brain-based learning and training attention maker or attention breaker, or what we call the reticular. Second, activating system and learning three brains in one, or the so-called the Brian brain and learning. Third, let the compass be your guide, the learning compass and learning the natural way. And lastly, mapping your message, make it stick with the training map power our training templates for time-saving design and delivery tools. Heads up, brain-based learning and training attention maker, attention breaker, or the reticular. in the learning brain. The human brain is a phenomenally efficient and immediately adaptable learning tool. How it manages to learn as much as it does, as fast as it does, still amazes the researchers who study it. Not only is the brain designed to learn, it can help but learn. That is its basic function, to make sense out of the world around it. Besides being programmed to learn, the human brain likes to learn. In emotions direct attention, which directs learning. When we as trainers understand the brain research about learning and we know what drives learning or emotions, then we can create learning experiences that are compatible with how the brain learns rather than using methods that only tire and frustrate it. It also validates this book two major concepts. First, shorter segments of instructions are better than longer ones, and learners remember more when they are involved in the learning. So now what is the RAS and what does it do? The pinky-sized area of the brain has a scientific name, the reticular activating system, or what we call RAS. A more common name for it is the attention maker. It sends electronic signals from your brainstem through the limbic or emotional brain to your cerebrum or thinking brain. The attention maker has two specific jobs. First, makes. The first job is to make your thinking brain pay attention to what is going on in the environment. Second, breaks. The second job is to break or stop your thinking brain's attention to the environment, causing the cerebrum to go on automatic pilot, that is, to do certain actions automatically while thinking of other things. The attention maker does both jobs by screening the sensory data coming into your brain from the brainstem. Then, it decides what data is important enough to send doing electronic circuits to the cerebrum. So next is the learning, teaching, and the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is crucial to directing and maintaining a learner's attention. When anything changes from what is familiar in a learning environment, the RAS becomes the attention maker. It directs the learner's thinking brain to consciously pay attention to what is going on around him, including listening to the teacher. The importance of this for us trainers is clear. When we want our learners to pay close, conscious attention to important information, and we have to catch the attention of the RAS by changing something in the environment. Next is changes that engage the reticular activating system. First, we can change things that have to do with our own instructional methods. We can also change the activities we use to involve learners. And last, we can change the physical room environment. If we understand the importance of the reticular activating system in training, we will change our instructional methods and learning activities regularly to accommodate the attention maker's need for stimulation. We will accept that in order to really learn something, the conscious mind must be fully and completely present. Later, the cerebrum may hand a physical or mental skill over to the reticular activating system once the skill has been mastered. But in the learning stage, the attention maker must engage the thinking brain. And the best way to make sure that happens is to include regular changes in both our instructional methods and the activities we use to involve learners. And now we are in the second topic of the part 2, which is the 3 brains in 1, or the tri-brainal learning. This research illustrates how important the feelings of psychological safety is in a learning experience and how to create that feeling of safety through learner-to-learner connections and involvement. First, from parts to whole. In his book, Human Brain and Human Learning in 1983, author Leslie Hart cited the research done by Paul MacLean, the former director of the Brain and Behavior Laboratory of the United States National Institute of Mental Health. MacLean theorized that the physical human brain evolved over centuries into 3 somewhat distinct parts, all interconnected and all playing an important role in learning and memory. In order to simplify MacLean's theory and to understand it in both a kinesthetic or movement and a spatial or image-rich way, You are going to use your own hands to represent your three brains in one. Next is the downshifting brain. In any new learning experience, whenever you feel threatened, your brain begins to downshift. It could be physical or psychological, but in reality, you can learn some things while downshifting into survival brain. Your brain will do whatever it needs to do to ensure your survival, including learning what it needs to learn in order to get you out of a dangerous situation. The implication of this for learning and teaching are profound. Another even more important implications for learning is this. Training participants can downshift while the training is going on as well. Any physical or psychological discomfort will trigger the beginning stages of downshifting. When discomfort increases, learning decreases. Next is from connection to community. The quickest and most powerful way to create safety in a training is to connect learners with each other, with the topic, and with you in positive, fun, low-risk ways. A safe learning community means that learners can make mistakes and learn from them. A safe learning community also means that you, the trainer, can also make mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. In a safe learning community, learners always treat each other with more tolerance, patience, humor, and compassion. Next is techniques are never value neutral. Two important concepts to keep in mind when creating safe learning communities are you teach who you are and what you value, and the instructional techniques you choose to use or not also reflect your deepest value. So I have here a final example. You want learners to learn from each other, but you never give them time to discuss the material about themselves. You may subconsciously feel that small group discussions are a waste of training time. Change this mindset by adding a few 60-second activities to your training until you see for yourself the value of learner involvement and discussion. The human brain is hardwired to keep us both physically and psychologically safe. All three parts of the brain, survival brain, emotional brain, and thinking brain, work together best when the need for safety is met in a class or training. As you have learned, one of the surest ways to create a feeling of emotion safety is by connecting learners to each other and to the content in fun, safe ways. When you include a variety of ways learners can make those connections throughout training, you create a safe learning community for the duration of the learning experience. So we are now on the two powerful instructional tools, the learning compass and the training map, to help you design and deliver training in less time and with better long-term results. So let's discuss first the let the compass be your guide, or the learner compass, and learning the natural way. So the natural cycle of learning. In his book is Experiential Learning in 1984, David Kolb, a Case Western Reserve University professor, coined the term the natural cycle of learning to describe four common phases or steps of the learning process. First step in this learning cycle is the concrete experience phase. Second step in the cycle is the reflective observation phase. Third step, the abstract conceptualization phase. And the fourth step, active experimentation phase. So those are four phases or steps of the natural cycle of learning. Everything you've learned, both as a child and as an adult, has included these four steps. You decided to learn something and figure out what you already knew about it. You learned what others knew about it. You found someone to teach you more. You studied it, practiced it, and finally used it in your own life. Whatever you were learning to do, you experienced this natural cycle of learning, whether or not you were aware of it. So what is the learning compass and what does it do? For any physical journey, a navigational compass with its directional coordinates of north, east, south, and west is one of the most powerful tools we can carry with us. The learning compass will guide us home. That is, it will guide us in the direction of our learning goals. Here is an overview of the learning compass and its directional points that represents the 4 steps in learning the natural way. First is the north, represents self. Here, the learner decides what information or skill she wants to learn, why she wants to learn it, and what she already knows and has experience related to the subject. Second is east, represents other. Here, the learner finds out what other people know about the subject. Third is the south, represents information. Here, the learner begins to gather new information to add to what she knows. Fourth, west represents action. Here, the learner puts the new knowledge to use, practices a skill, or does something with what she has learned. All real learning, when something is learned, remembered, and used it in some fashion, is a journey that includes these 4 steps: self, others, information, and action. They might not always occur in that order, but they are always present whenever a person learns the natural way. The 4 compass points are metaphoric memory aids for the 4 steps: north, self; east, others; south, informations; and west, actions. Next is mapping your message or making it stick with the training map. The training map is that model. Once you begin to use this tool, you'll never train without it again. It won't make sense to teach in ways other than the natural way people learning. The map will become so second nature to you that you won't even realize you're using it. Both the learning compass and training map are navigational tools to guide you toward your training goal of making your message stick. From the learning compass comes the training map. The training map is a 4-step training model for designing and delivering learning experiences based on how people naturally learn. As an added bonus, the learning compass and training map will also help you manage your design and delivery time more efficiently. Together, these 2 tools will be powerful additions to your own expertise as a training professional. Finally, part 2 gives you 5 Power R training templates and an example of how to use the templates to show you how easy it is to apply the concepts included in part 1 and 2. So, in Power R training templates or time-saving designs and delivery tools. Templates simply help us to do what we want or need to do, and they save us time, lots of time. We use templates when we want to speed up the creating or doing of something. The Power R training templates are training designs formats already created and ready to use. They won't show you what to teach. You are the expert when it comes to your topics and materials. Instead, they will show you how to put together an hour of training by using your material and the ideas and activities from the 10-minute trainer. The Power R training templates are practical examples of how to use the training map and how to include activities from part 1 of this book. After you read through the templates, you'll have a clear picture of how to use an hour-long training using what you've learned here. All you need to do is to insert your own content pieces into the templates. The templates will help you create learning experiences that are brain-based, motivating, memorable, and completely learner-centered, exactly what you're aiming for. And finally, we are in the last part, which is the part 3. So in this part, the topics are more timely training tools, get a clue, 4 elements to increase motivation and memory in learning. Second, you said it, but did they get it? How to check for understanding. Third, what's a picture worth? The importance of imagery in learning. And lastly, station rotation, learning a lot in a little time. So in more timely training tools. According to William Howell, as quoted by Robert Pike in Creative Training Techniques Handbook, there are 4 basic levels of training competence. First, put your hands on your hips and say, I don't know that I don't know. Howell calls it unconscious incompetence. Second, put your hands on your shoulder and say, I know that I don't know. Howell says this is conscious incompetence. Third, put your hands on your head and say, I know that I know. Howell calls this conscious competence. And lastly, put your hands in the air over your head and say, I don't know that I know. Howell labels this unconscious competence. Next is bringing it home to conscious competence. Either way, your goal in reading this book has been to achieve conscious competence, the level at which you are not only skilled at designing and delivering effective training, but can also explain what you are doing, why it works, and how others can do it as well as you do. You've arrived at the conscious competence level when you have polished your training programs by including ideas and activities from Part 1. Apply the research and training design tools from Part 2 to make your training work even better for you and for your learners. Third, created new learning experiences and fine-tuned existing ones by using some of the concepts from Part 3. More tools for the consciously competent trainer. First, with a Get a Clue, you'll discover 4 elements necessary for motivation and memory in learning. Second, in What's a Picture Worth, you'll be reminded of the power of the image in training. Third, You Said It But Did They Get It offers you 5 ways to check for understanding so that you know whether your training participants are learning and remembering the new information. And lastly, the station rotation is a unique, highly active fast-paced learning activity. These training tools are timely because you are now ready to add them to your growing list of effective training methods. As a consciously competent trainer, you'll fine-tune them so that they save you time in both designing and delivering quality programs. They are reminders of what you already know, of what you have learned, and of what you can do to make your training even better. So let's start in the first tool, which is a Get a Clue. According to educational research, there are 4 crucial elements that increases both motivation and memory in learning. Including all 4 elements in a training program ensures that learners will remain interested and involved the entire time, and that they will be able to remember what they learn and use it in their work of life. The letters in the acronym CLUE stand for these 4 elements. The acronym will help you remember how to make your training both motivational and memorable. The 4 elements are C stands for creative, L stands for link, U stands for useful, and lastly E for emotional. So in creative element, it includes write brain reports, stand, walk, talk, brainstorming time, more than one right answer, learner created challenges, make it outrageous, hang out with creative people, and trust your learners. In link element, first take a minute, lecture the links, use games, learn your creative games, talk about it. In the useful element, it includes real-life challenges, demonstrations, improvisations, graffiti wall, job shadowing, guest speakers, and action plans. Lastly, in the emotional element, it includes connections are the keys, keep them going, right to pass, need to know guidelines, what's your baggage, sarcasm is out, take care of it now, go with your gut, and be careful of pain. When you make your training creative, linked, useful, and emotional, you not only motivate training participants to become involved in their own learning, but you also help move that learning into long-term memory. Probably, the best benefit from the 4 clue elements is that learners will associate learning with positive feelings, and what more of what makes them feel good. It's a win-win for everyone. For you, the learners, their company or school, and for the larger world they inhabit. Next is You Said It But Did They Get It? How to check for understanding. What is checking for understanding? Checking for understanding simply means you stop talking and ask learners to say or do something with the information you just gave them. According to author Madeline Hunter, you should check for understanding after you've presented an important piece of information. So there are 5 activities to check for understanding. First, repeat back. Second, think back. Third, teach back. Fourth, play back. And lastly, report back. When you check for understanding, you make sure that learners not only hear the concepts, but also understand them and are able to apply them to specific work situation. When learners say and do something with what they've learned, they will feel confident that they have the skills to use the new information when they need to, which is what real learning is all about. This is what a picture worth, or the importance of imagery in learning. So let's define first what is imagery. Imagery is any teaching method that helps the brain form mental picture to represent what is being learned. Generally speaking, when you lectures without using any image-making method, learners are limited to processing the spoken information in the main language center of the thinking brain, the left hemisphere only. Put another way, you are teaching to half the brain while the other half sits pretty much idle. But when you include training methods that are image-rich, you not only make the information more interesting to the learner, you also make it more memorable. Image-rich tools include storytelling and anecdotes, metaphors and analogies, doodles, cartoons and photos, symbols, shapes and icons, movement and gestures, physical objects, and videos and any other visual aids. The human brain and television both have one great commonality: imagery. One relies on images to learn. The other relies on images to educate, entertain, and persuade. As trainers, we need to use image-rich language and training methods to make our training more interesting and more memorable. When participants use both sides of their thinking brain to learn, the probability increases of remembering and using the information later. In other words, we can teach it more quickly and make it stick longer with imagery. And we are now on the last tool, which is the station rotation, learning a lot in a little time. So first, what is station rotation? A station rotation is really a series of short activities that learners can do in a certain sequence during one portion of the training day or interspersed throughout the day. The short activities all take place at the same time in different parts of the training room. In small groups, learners rotate from activity to activity, following the written or audio tapes instruction at each activity table or rotation. All activities are built around concepts taught during the training. All activities introduce, review, or apply these concepts in various ways. And finally, we are in the closing and celebration. So first, claim what you know. That said, you have now come full circle, back to the two fundamental principles on which the 10-minute trainer is based. Shorter segments of instructions are better than longer ones, and learners remember more when they are involved in the learning. Second, the jewel of the journey. There is a treasure embedded in every training journey. There is a hidden jewel that you'll find regardless of whether you're even looking for it. These treasures make the journey worthwhile. Lastly, handing it back to the learner. As a trainer, you are moving in the direction of not teaching what you know, but drawing knowledge out of your learners so that they can, in fact, teach themselves. You stand as their guide, ready to help when asked, but also ready to stand back and let them chart their own course. What a paradigm shift from instructor-centered training to learner-centered training, from old sit down and listen instructional methods to new stand up and talk learning strategies, from monologue lectures to dialogue learning, from learning is delivery to learning is creation, a profound shift in perception. The ideas and activities in this book are yours to experiment with, learn from, train with, and teach to others. They are meant to help you become better at what you do, fine-tune what you already do well, and create new ways of teaching and training that are even more successful for both you and your learners. Above all, this book is meant to inspire and celebrate you, your learners, and those who share it with. Happy teaching and training. Here's a toast to you, the 10-minute trainer. That's all, and hope you learned something, and thank you for watching.